My parents gave my wedding fund to my brother for his honeymoon, so I eloped and sent them the bill. The conversation began over a stilted Sunday dinner at my parents' impeccably clean dining room table. My mother, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, announced they had made a family decision regarding the money set aside for my wedding. My father, avoiding my gaze, nodded along as she explained that my brother Jake's new in-laws were expecting a certain caliber of post-wedding celebration. His wife, Qley, came from a prominent family, and a luxurious month-long tour of Europe was now deemed essential. My fork clattered against my plate. "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The fund wasn't some abstract pool of their money. It was a tangible promise, built over years from contributions my late grandmother had specifically left for me, with my parents as its stewards. My mother's smile tightened. "We've given it to Jake for his honeymoon," she said, as if announcing we were having pie for dessert. "It's a redistribution based on immediate need." I felt the air leave my lungs. Immediate need? Jake was a hedge fund manager. Chloe's father owned a chain of hotels. My fiancé, Liam, and I are teachers. We had budgeted every cent of that fund for a modest but beautiful day. "Grandma left that for me," I choked out, my eyes stinging with betrayed tears. My father finally looked at me, his expression stern. "And we are her executors. We've decided this is what's best for the family's image now. Jake's situation requires a certain standard." Liam, sitting beside me, placed a steadying hand on my knee under the table, but his own jaw was clenched tight. "A standard?" he asked, his voice dangerously calm. "And what standard does our wedding deserve?" My mother waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, you two are so pragmatic. You'll find a way. A simple courthouse ceremony can be so charming." The dismissal was a physical blow. Our dreams were being trivialized to elevate Jake's already gilded life. The ride home was silent, thick with a fury so potent I could taste it. Liam white-knuckled the steering wheel. "It's not about the money," he said, his voice low and shaking. "It's about the absolute lack of respect. They see us as an afterthought." I nodded, numb, watching the streetlights blur past. The unfairness was a crushing weight on my chest. We weren't asking for a month in Europe. We were asking for one day, our day. The next morning, fueled by a sleepless night of rage, I went to my parents' house to retrieve a forgotten jacket, hoping for a sliver of remorse. Letting myself in quietly, I heard my mother's voice from the kitchen, bright and gossiping on the phone with my aunt. I froze just outside the doorway, hidden from view. "Oh, Sarah will be fine," she said with a light laugh that made my blood run cold. "Jake, though, he needs the fairy tale. Qley comes from a much more influential family, you know. This isn't just a honeymoon. It's an investment in his social standing. It's where the right people will be." The truth was far uglier than I had imagined. It wasn't just favoritism. It was a cold, calculated social maneuver. And Liam and I were the sacrificial pawns. I backed out of the house silently, my tears now evaporated by a scalding heat of pure, unadulterated resolve. They thought we were pragmatic, simple. They would see just how pragmatic we could be. I drove to Liam's apartment, walked in and recounted what I had heard with a chilling calmness I didn't recognize in myself. His face darkened, but then a slow, determined smile spread across his lips. "Okay," he said, "if that's how they want to play it, what's the plan?" The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. We would give them exactly what they claimed we wanted, a simple, no-fuss wedding, but we would do it on our own spectacular terms. We quietly obtained our marriage license, took the week off work, and maxed out our credit cards with a fierce, liberating sense of purpose. This was no longer about a wedding. It was a statement. We booked flights to Santorini and a breathtaking cliffside suite with a private infinity pool overlooking the caldera. We found a local officiant and a photographer through frantic, excited online searches. I bought a stunning, elegant silk dress from a small boutique designer, a far cry from the simple gown I'd been budgeting for. Liam found a perfect linen suit. We planned a 5-course private dinner on our terrace under a canopy of stars, with a local chef and a violinist. It was intimate, personal, and exponentially more luxurious than the reception hall we'd originally booked. For 1 week, we disconnected entirely. We turned our phones off the moment we boarded the plane and immersed ourselves in our new reality. The ceremony was at sunset, with the entire whitewashed island and the deep blue sea spread out below us. It was just the two of us, the officiant, and the photographer. I cried real, happy tears as we said our vows, the sound of the waves our only soundtrack. It was perfect. It was ours, and it was utterly free of their toxic presence. The morning after our wedding night, blissfully happy and tanned from the sun, we finally turned our phones on. The screen lit up with dozens of missed calls and frantic texts from my parents, wondering about cake tastings and florist appointments they'd scheduled for us. I smiled, a cold, satisfied smile. With Liam looking over my shoulder, I had our wedding planner, a wonderfully discreet local woman we'd hired, express courier a package to my parents' address. Inside was a detailed, itemized bill for our entire elopement. Every single cost was listed: first-class flights, the luxury suite for 7 nights, the private dinner, the photographer's fee, my dress, his suit, the officiant, even the champagne we'd toasted with. The total was a number so audacious it would make my father's accountant heart seize up, a sum triple what they had taken from me and given to Jake. Clipped to the top of the bill was a note, written on our hotel's elegant stationery. It read, "Per your advice, we kept it pragmatic. Per our taste, you can cover the bill for redistributing my wedding fund. Consider my portion of the family closed. P.S. The photos are stunning." We included one single breathtaking photo of us kissing as the sun dipped into the sea, a perfect silhouette of joy and defiance. We then turned our phones off again and spent the next week truly present in our honeymoon paradise, swimming in the Aegean, exploring ancient villages, and laughing with the absolute freedom of people who had nothing left to lose. We were no longer seeking their approval. We had taken back our power. The fallout awaited us upon our return. Our voicemail was full of sputtering, incoherent rage from my father and tearful, guilt-tripping hysterics from my mother. They called me ungrateful, selfish, manipulative. They screamed about the bill, demanding to know how I could be so irresponsible. I listened to one message, then deleted the rest without finishing them. Their words had lost all power over me. Liam and I moved into our new home together, a small house we were buying on our teachers' salaries, and we built a life filled with genuine love, far from the conditional, transactional world of my parents. We framed the photo from Santorini and hung it in our living room, a daily reminder of the day we chose each other, absolutely and completely. My parents never paid the bill, of course. We never expected them to. The invoice itself was the point. It was the final, itemized proof of their injustice, a mirror held up to their favoritism. Jake and Qley sent a generic thank you card from a 5-star resort in Lake Como. I threw it away, unopened. The silence from my family was eventually broken by a single terse email from my father, asking if I was ready to be reasonable. I replied with just one line: "We were always reasonable. You were always wrong." And then I blocked them all, finally and forever, closing the book on their drama and starting our own story, one we would write ourselves.